Hello. So I wanted to do a quick introduction for this video because it's a little bit different from what I usually do on my channel. And so like a friend of mine had just started playing The Sims and it made me realize that the learning curve is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be when getting into The Sims. So I figured that I could make a video showing how I build, and it can kind of benefit anybody who needs a recommendation. I could just like point them to this video. And so this video will have beginner instructions. So I try and do as like detailed as I can. Some things are easy to forget. So if you're confused by anything, just like you could ask. Sometimes if something doesn't get explained right away, I kind of pick up on it and then I explain it later on in the video. There's also just like regular building tips in here too. So some things that might not be like completely known to Sims builders because they're not really like shown in the game, so they're kind of hidden and you could only really know about them unless like unless you like find a video that kind of explains it. So there's a little bit of both for everybody in here. So this is the build I'm going to be building today. And yeah, so I'm just going to go right into it. I'm in a lot. I just bulldozed it. So you can like, if you're going to a lot, you can click on this bulldoze tool up here and bulldoze lot will come up and it'll let you bulldoze anything. So like if you have that, you just go here and it'll get rid of it for you. And if there's like terrain paint and stuff, it'll also bulldoze the terrain. So I'm not actually sure if that bulldozes both things. So I'm just gonna put some stuff around. I'm gonna like bulldoze terrain just gets rid of the terrain. And then that gets rid of the lot. So yeah, to get this menu that's popped up, like say that, I'll just go from here. Normally I think it's just default, but if you're ever like in another category and you're trying to find the build tools again, all you have to do is click on the front of this house. It comes up and it says walls and empty rooms, and that opens up this menu for everything. And so I'm going to build a little cottage because that's what I enjoy building, and I think that it'll be the easiest for me to kind of explain what to do. So I grab a room tool. You can grab like anything. I just prefer the room tool, and it just lets me drag out a box of any size that I want just by like holding down. And so you build the box, and this is kind of like the base of the house in general. And we'll add on like little features here and there to make it more interesting. And it's all just like composition. So whatever like looks good for your eye is kind of like, I guess, what you'll enjoy the most. Now I'm gonna do a porch, and I do that by grabbing one of these flat square pieces down here. I know that a huge misunderstanding is that the square platform is the porch tool, but this is a completely different thing. This was added like pretty recently compared to like when the game first came out, and I don't think they do a good job at like having it be like easily identified as like one or the other. They kind of look like they're the same thing, and so I think it would be easy to kind of just like assume this is the porch tool. And I guess you could use that, but um I don't know. I don't use that. I use that as like to add kind of split levels in a house. So for me, I add this flat square and I just place it anywhere around the house. It really doesn't matter. And so when you're on here, you'll see that these arrows appear, and this lets you like drag it around. So you don't have to like place a bunch of them down. You kind of just drag the arrows around. And I'm gonna have it like kind of wrap around like this. So it's like a huge porch. So now the next step would be to raise this up on a foundation, and there's like almost nowhere for you to do that in here. It's very confusing. I think when I first got The Sims 4, I didn't know how to do it either. And so you just have to like click anywhere in the house, I usually click here. You could click here too, but like there's way more lines around that make it a little bit more confusing. So if you click on the house, you have the same arrows, but inside the box, like over here, you'll see that there's an arrow that goes up and down. And this lets you drag the foundation up and down. So to raise it up, you just hold it and drag it up. And now you're raised up on a foundation. And so the next thing is that you kind of want a covering over the porch, and you could easily do that with roof pieces, but it's easier to place the roof pieces if there's already like a ceiling on top of it, which right here it's not. And so the easiest way to do that is to click on your porch, and you see this yellow line that comes up, and you click on the yellow line and it says build ceiling. So once you build the ceiling, it'll just be completely covered like all around. So then you can add your roof, which is just clicking on the roof in the little bottom corner of where the house is for the building tools. And you could really do anything for this. I like play around with it. I think the easiest one would be a hipped roof, and you just kind of place it down and you do the same thing where you drag it. And now my porch is a little bit like harder to roof than other ones would be, so you'd want to have this like blend into the house, right? So like I just drag it down the same way that you would kind of drag the arrows around. And then like you know what, I'll just do it like all the way down. You can always just play around with it after. I probably grab one of these gabled roofs and do something like this. And then like drag it down and stuff. So it looks a little weird, and that's kind of how it's going to look until you figure out like how you want it to look. So I don't like how wide it is, so I'm just gonna like bring both of those in and do the same for like each side. Okay, so maybe even raising this up a little bit. It's really just playing around with it and see what you like for it. I'll get into that after though, but now there's columns, so you click down on the column piece. I'm going to use my favorite columns from the Cottage Living Stuff Pack. And so for the columns, I just placed some around. Normally, I try and just have some symmetry. And I realized I didn't show how to duplicate it. So if you want to duplicate it without having to click each one, I play on keyboard, so you would press E and it pulls up this eyedropper, and you could just click and copy and paste anything, or you can go up here and copy that way. I'm sure that on console, if you like hover over these, it might give you a like a hotkey for them. So that's just like on PC, it's E. Okay. So now you have this, and I think like a main thing that I find a little bit hard to build with is that if you go to spandrels and you go, oh, never mind, it does work. Sometimes I do that and it doesn't work, but I guess you can just place the spandrels when you already have the ceiling built. So you just pick out your spandrel, and sometimes you'll have to do like a fence first or a wall first, but this just let me do it, so we'll just do it like all the way around. It adds a little bit of detail to the like the porch, and you can change the wall heights for builds, but I really prefer when I have a porch like this to do a short wall, just because it like looks a little bit better. And so there's 3 options that come up when you click on the house, and there's a medium wall, tall wall, and these work for different sorts of things. But if I have a porch like this, I always keep it on short wall. Sometimes it will like a build will just be like on medium. You could just lower it down and it can like, it feels a little bit more cozier than if it was just like a big open space because I feel like there's less details in it. And so now you have your fence pieces, and I should probably explain that there is different options for how to build your fences. So if you want to manually do it, that's the first option. So you like go and you drag. There's also one that's the same thing as the squares. When I'm doing porches, I usually use the replace fences option. It lets you do something like this, where you just click on each of these highlighted walls and it will add it. But like it also replaces any other wall. And then when I go here, the replace wall tool, it kind of like blocks it off a little bit. What I do is I just press K on my keyboard, which brings up this sledgehammer tool, and then I just delete. And then I'll add columns like where I feel like I want them. And I feel like that works pretty good. So then I'll eyedrop these. I'll switch over to place fences drawn. And that's what I'll do. So yeah, you just go around, you place what you think looks good for yours. And then you need some stairs. My first ever build I've ever made was on The Sims 2. I built a huge house for a family and I didn't know how to put a staircase down. And so you could imagine like a child me freaking out when all of my Sims are on the verge of death and the kids are about to be taken away because I just forgot to place stairs. So yeah, stairs are pretty important. And now if you want to change the color of this foundation, normally what I do is I use the eyedrop tool for everything to get to each category. But I believe that foundations are over here. You can pick any ones that like speak to you, I guess. I think for this, I'm going to use this lattice one. I like using these sorts of stilt foundations for like docks and like stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna just do this though. And I'll probably want stairs that go to the back of the house. So I'll place that down there. So you don't even have to delete the fence. You can just go like this. And that'll delete it for you. And I'll eyedrop it again. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And for railings, again, you just click over here. Everything you need to find will be here. It'll maybe just take some time, like learning where stuff is. Like I've been building since the game came out in like 2014. So it's like just like memory where I don't even like look and I just like grab it. So I need to like remind myself while I'm doing this that I need to slow down and show it. So for me, I'm doing a lot of matching stuff for like this. So like these don't match, but I don't think everything has to match. I like mixed matched wood and stuff. I use a program called G-Shade that changes the look of stuff. So normally I don't really care about if the wood tones match each other or not, but I like the mixed matched look anyway. And I feel like this is going to be weird, but I really want to try and bring out a piece of this just to see. I don't know. So I'm going to grab the flat square and I'm going to place that there. And then I'm going to bring it in a little bit just to add some sort of shape. Then I'll put the lattice back on and I will delete all of this that I just did. So yeah, I just feel like I want to try something different. And I think that this will be good to kind of show how to add on to things. So yeah, I'll do that. And I'll add all this stuff back. And now I can kind of show you how to add the roof without doing what I had done before, which is like add the ceiling. Because you can do that without having that ceiling there. It's just easy to have one nearby so that you can place other stuff. So I could just like place a roof on this piece now and do something like this if I wanted to. I'd probably like drag this around a little bit and do something like this. And there's another part that of like roofing. If you kind of like look at each of these arrows, there's one of these that appear, and that's different from these arrows, so you can kind of like bring it in and out. But there is a trick. This is a keyboard like shortcut. I don't know it on console. So if you hold down shift and then you grab this arrow, you could drag it wherever and it only moves this one now instead of moving both. So then that kind of just hides that a little bit more. You can even like do that, and it blends it into the roof way better. There's also another like hidden roof technique that the game doesn't really tell you about. So if you click on one of these roofs and you click shift and what is it? Shift C. This is C. It's like muscle memory, so I don't always remember. So if you click on the roof and you click shift C, you could see that there's like a bunch of these circles that now appear, where there used to only be two. And the two of them, it does like this sort of thing where it like changes the shape of the roof that you have. But now if you click the shift and C, you have two extra ones, which helps you to create very like fantasy and magical roofs, which is my building style. So once I found this out, I never went back. And then it's like always to do that, I always use this middle circle here. So I'll like zoom in a little bit. I'm in tab mode because it's a cheat, but you can't normally do this in normal games. But yeah, so right here is this one, and that one helps to like change the shape into something a little bit more magical. And this one over here slightly moves the ends of your roof. That one I don't find as important. It's just like if you want it to like blend into other roof pieces around it, it could be helpful. I don't really need to use that ever. And just to get rid of the extra circles, like if they are annoying you or anything, you just press shift C and then it'll go back to like normal. But I feel like that move, okay, does it move it? I don't know. I feel like it moved it a little bit. Never noticed that before. So yeah. Oh, that, hold on. I feel like I'm learning something. I think that if you click shift C off, it actually resets it. So you probably don't want to do that. See, I'm learning now too. And then like if you want it to bring these out, you can. It's the same sort of trick as the other way. If you hold down shift on one side, it only pulls one side. I feel like I remember there being a way to like change things a little bit slower on the roof. I don't remember. Is that alt? Am I even doing anything when I do alt? Okay, yeah. So if you see like the roof, it kind of like there's certain snap points on it, but I think if you hold alt, it lets you adjust it a little bit more. So like see this big leap on the roof. If you hold down alt, it like you get like a gradient in between. That's also useful to know. It helps to like it really helps to roof things more naturally. I know that a big struggle for people is roofing, even like builders who have been building for like years. Roofing is really hard, and I think those little tips really help. And it's a shame that it's not more like talked about in the games and in the tutorials. So that's just stuff that you kind of have to stumble upon in like the community, which is kind of what I've done. And so I definitely have seen a huge improvement on my builds since I've kind of learned little tricks like that. Probably lower that down a little bit so that it blends into the roof. And now I have a porch, and I noticed that the spandrels aren't on it, so I'm just gonna put the spandrels back on. And now you see that there's a very white trim around it, and I personally don't really like that, so I'm going to click on roof trims, and I'm going to kind of like pick my favorite. There aren't many roof trims. There's only 2 packs that actually come with roof trims. I maybe won't use that just because they are very like specific packs, and you'd have to buy a whole pack for it. So I'll just use one of these. I'm using it in this brown color. One thing to know is that you can't eye drop these sometimes. You can hear, apparently. See how when I'm doing a tutorial and it lets me do that? I've been building so much, and I complain about it every time that I can't just copy and paste it. Sometimes it appears, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't really know. That's just something that if it, like, it doesn't appear for you, it just means that you have to go back in and remember which one you used. And I almost always forget, which means that they don't match for me. But it, like, who really notices? I don't. I don't look at people's builds to that extreme level. So yeah. Now, this is where I'm also now feeling a little bit lost for myself because I don't know how to build something with this roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight this roof and I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to click delete on my keyboard. I'm assuming that you could also sledgehammer it, but yeah, if you click delete on your keyboard, it gets rid of that. And now I need to kind of figure out what I want the shape of this house to look like. I feel like I want a second floor for it. Or even like, I'm going to do some different shapes. So I'm going to click on this octagonal room, and I'm just going to place it down like over here. And if you see, it's not even on the bottom. So I'm going to probably make it so that it's even on the bottom by doing something like this. It deletes the stairs, but we'll just like change it as we go because that's the great thing is that not everything is permanent and I can just drag this out a little bit more. And now that I'm dragging that out, I can add another roof piece. So I might try and like demonstrate this half-hipped roof. I go like this and drag it out. So that's how I got it to fit. So that was pretty quick. First thing I do is I lowered it down. And so now it's like into this roof. And these don't line up. So I just kind of hoped by pulling on this that it would. And then you arrow it like around to see how it fits in. So this wouldn't work. But if you lower it down just enough, it will line up. And then you copy and paste. No, see? Okay. See how it's not working now? It's a good thing I remembered it. So I go back to roof trims, which is underneath the roof right here. And I use this one. So it's I remembered it this time, but normally I don't. And so it's really all just about like trying to get an interesting shape for your build. So I want a tower. So I'm going to click on this, and right under here, there's move, there's copy, and there's rotate. So I'm going to click copy, and then I'm going to just place it on top. So like you just angle it down a little bit. This is all on my scroll wheel, by the way. And I unlock like this sort of movement in the game camera settings, which I also realized I should probably explain. So if you open options menu, and is it game options? This might take me some time. Game camera, okay. So I turn on the Sims 3 camera, and that lets you like move things around differently. So yeah, the Sims 3 settings such as middle mouse button, pitch control, that's what I use. So it's just easier. And I know that for me, I don't like building with the grid on. So like if you're down here, it's very noisy and I can't really concentrate, and all I see is white lines, which it's like I can't build like that. So if you press G on your keyboard, it removes it. And I know there has to be a way that you could do that without a hotkey, but I don't know where it is. So, it's G on keyboard if you're on console. I'm sure that like there's a whole list somewhere on Google that explains things. So now I'm back in the roof and I'm going to grab my favorite roof piece, which is this octagonal roof. I'm going to click it. I'm going to place it down here. I'm going to drag it up and I'm going to do the same thing where I press Shift C and I'm going to unlock these things. I'm going to change it around to how I like it. And I'm going to drag this out, this little like the eaves or whatever they are, just a little bit. And now it kind of looks like a witchy tower already, which I really like. And so now I'm going to grab another box, this roof tool here, and I'm going to build a box here. And so now that like it looks a little bit weird here, so I'm just going to I guess you could use a normal wall here and fix it. And that just like puts it all together. And I probably won't drag it out just because it makes it a little bit more interesting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the room tool. I'm just going to like drag out a piece at the top of it, and that's what I'm going to do for it, just to break it up a little bit. And I'm going to try out doing another one of these towers over here, so I'm going to do that. And maybe no, I'm going to do 2 levels. So now we have a roof, and it's a little like, I feel like this is a good way to show how to naturally roof builds. I'm going to click on the roofing, and I realize that I can just copy and paste this exact roof instead of having to do it all over again. So I'm going to click on it, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to place it down on the other one so that has it duplicated exactly how I had kind of like changed it around before. I'm going to do the same thing down here so I could keep the same sort of look for each of my builds throughout. And now there's this. And whenever I have a roof that uses a gabled roof, which is this one right here, I like to drag it out and I like to use that as a way to break up my build so it's not just a square like this. And so now, right, it like, you can't really tell, but once you start putting wall decorations on it and stuff, it will definitely, you'll see a difference. And then, you could kind of do anything for this. I might use this roof piece. It's the hipped roof, and just kind of like bring it out. And you could leave it like this. I think that it's very like off-centered, so I'm probably gonna just bring it down. And maybe I want to do something else. I'm not sure unless I like bring this up a little bit. Maybe not. I feel like when a roof is off-centered a little bit, it's better to just have it lower down. Maybe just like bring that out a little bit. I like how this looks. I think it looks cute. I think that one thing that I would probably like is for there to be some sort of height on another level. That's going to be like me experimenting, and I might end up hating it, which is okay, because then you can just change things around. So that's a good thing. You never have to keep your you don't have to ever commit to doing that. So I'm just like playing around, and I don't really like that either. So I'm probably just gonna leave it as is. Maybe just try some other things to give it the look that I want, which could maybe just like, because what I want right now is height, and I can achieve that with a roof probably. Just like use the shift to bring in one side, and I did that on that side, and maybe that's just like fine, you know? Even like bring this in a little bit. It's really just like playing around with what feels right. And I'm kind of a lazy builder, and I can easily just like get a bush and hide some of the things that I don't like. So this looks pretty weird, but you do like overgrown builds and stuff, so I can just place a bush down, and I size them down using the bracket keys on my keyboard. Just place some bushes around. This is unlocked in the debug menu, which is a whole nother thing to get into. I have a mod that easily unlocks it for me. So there's like a very long cheat for it that I don't know off the top of my head because I haven't used it in years. So yeah. Now we need to roof this piece over here, which I'll probably just use one of these again and try and get it to blend in to the surrounding roofs a little bit. Use the same sort of thing there. And maybe I'll even do this. And yeah. Yeah, I think maybe that could be good. I could probably add another porch now that I'm looking at it. But I don't know if I want to add another porch because I like this piece that's sticking off of the build. So maybe I'll like expand it out a little bit. I'll do this. Yeah. This is going to be a long video unless I like speed some things up. I don't think I really need to show all of this. So we'll see, you know? You never know. Oh yeah, so another thing that I had realized that I didn't explain is that if you want to easily bulldoze something and you hold down control, you can just get rid of stuff. So if you draw that, you could hold down control and then it changes into a demolish tool as well. So now it looks like a little witchy cottage. It's kind of tall, which is what I like. So now I'm going to just do whatever feels right. So for me, I think I'm going to do the roof color so I don't forget, because that's an easy part to forget. So to change the color of the roof, there is a section on this roof that says roof patterns, and then you click there and you can just change the roof to whatever ones you want. Which there's lots of options with different expansion packs and stuff. The base game ones are pretty good though. I'm gonna use these ones. I'm just gonna place on every single roof piece, so if you miss it, you'll be able to see. Like right now, I had seen that this doesn't have a roof trim, so I'm just gonna go back and put it on there. So those are just things that you fix here and there as you come across them. And then I think that when I go down here, I want this to kind of line up down here. So I think I might do something like this. So that it's like, kind of just matches. And it also gives you some more space in the house. It seems a little strange because the front door will be like directly there, but this is The Sims, so it really doesn't matter that much. Oh yeah, I'll show you how to do the swatches too. So if you click R, which up here again on your toolbar is right here, design tool, R, change objects colors, and you click on whatever you want and it brings up all the swatches for you, whichever one looks good to you. And yeah. So then up here, I'm realizing that I'm not showing everything. You have like up and down. So you can do work on different parts of the house. And there's this walls up view that when you're in here, it kind of like lowers the walls to whatever is good for you. I'm gonna keep them up for now. And then you just kind of like do whatever, as I said before, whatever like order you decide is good for you when you're doing a build is what I would do. So I like putting a window over here and just having it like on an angle because I think it looks cute. I'll do the same thing back here. Just placing windows around where I feel is right. I think like lined up with this is good. Lined up with these roofs are good. So it's really just like going around and using like a few different windows at a time is usually a good approach to it. I might have a back door over here. I'll use like this door. Just check the different swatches. I'll probably leave it as that. Get some stairs. You can always change the colors of things as you're building, so you don't need to commit to one thing. Might even put these stairs off to the side just to add like some sort of visual difference than having them both one way. Now, my mistake I always do is I never put windows on the bottom floor. And if you open it, there's not one window in here. I'm gonna demolish some of these. This is like my favorite part. Probably won't furnish it. Just because furnishing takes a lot out of me. You'll have to get the windows in. I like uneven windows. Don't really need symmetry, but yeah, it's all based on personal preferences. I'm gonna finish the windows when I'm gonna finish the windows after I do the wallpaper. So if you come over here, there's wall patterns. It's pretty like easy to tell some of these things like windows and doors are pretty like self-explanatory, but wall patterns are over here for wallpaper. Or if you don't want to click there, you could just click on the drywall eyedrop thing and it'll pull up all of the different things for you. And there's different categories and stuff. So I want probably some sort of stone in my build. And some of these sort weird. So there's masonry and rock and stone. So you go in like both of those. Like this, I would consider this would go under stone, but it's not. That's just a part of the process, I guess, is trying to find where all of the things are, and I still don't know. I always forget. My favorite are these get-together ones, so probably do something like that. Most of my builds end up looking the same because I use the same sort of stuff all the time. That's okay. I think it's okay to have a style. So like when other people have a style, I'm starting to appreciate my style instead of just trying to constantly do something different. Like this up here, so I'll probably do that. So when I do different accent walls, I normally like to bring it down. So that would kind of like have this sort of blend into each of the walls. So it looks like the same sort of thing. And it's okay if it like splits down a window. No one's gonna critique it. I feel like that's an open invitation for people to critique it for mine, and that's fine. Probably do the same thing over on this side too. Just makes things easier. Doesn't really have to all blend together because I also cover my entire builds with ivy, so it really doesn't matter. This part's like, I feel like it's almost optional. And I feel like I'm being even more experimental than I usually am. Like, I usually put like a little bit more like matchy stuff in, but I guess not right now. So yeah, see how like it just like helps to make it blend in together. And that's normally what I do. I just kind of like look around at what would probably look good and I just try it. And if it looks bad, then I just change it. And so looking at this, there's one thing that bugs me, and it's this white line right here. We could fix that. So if you go into freezes and exterior trims, there's different kinds. This one right now is locked. What is it? Freezes or freezies? I don't know how you would say that. But yeah, they're locked because you need like a bigger wall height for them. Um, so yeah, that would be like a trim would go like on top of those. But the one I'm looking for is over here. And this can go on anything. And I'm going to grab just whatever color blends in. So that's this one right here. And that also added it over there. And I just kind of like go around and I see where else it can go, because normally it doesn't hurt to put it just adds a little bit of detail, especially with like my reshade. It really like pops and looks good in pictures. And now one thing that I've learned from Juby Sims is that you need columns on your walls, not just on your porches. And I tell myself that every single time so I don't forget. And so I'm going to do that now. So I pick whatever. This one's different from these, and I'm just going to like see what looks good. And it just adds some definition around like your build is all it does. It's optional, but I think it really helps. And so if you ever are like realizing that your builds just don't look the same as other people's, you don't know why, and like you feel like you're a good builder, it's because of this, because that happened to me too. Where I'm like, I never like have the right details that everyone else has in their builds. And it's something as simple as like this sort of thing. And I should probably explain what I just did because I didn't know this until this year. So let me delete this. If you place this, see how it doesn't even go inside? You need to just like press that down, and while it's still like highlighted, you click on like, it's the comma and period key, which are like the little triangle bracket things, and it rotates it. Yeah, that's how you have to do it. Yeah, you could do it up here. It's just easier when you do the other thing, because I already messed up. Oh wait, that's not even rotate. How do you rotate something? Okay. Maybe I don't. Oh, it's this. Okay. I got confused. Maybe I'm not the person to teach this. But yeah, that just adds a little bit of detail around your build. I might even like just experiment in different areas, like down here and stuff. This does also bring the expense, like the price of your house up. But, okay. So, it seems like this looks pretty good right now. Maybe add some more of these, just like pop it out a little bit. And just like look around and see where else I can throw a column down. So now I'm seeing this and I'm like, I kind of wish this was lined up with this, and I wonder if I can actually get that to work. So I'm gonna try and move the entire house over. And so you move the entire house over by clicking this move house, and the top one lets you select just the house, and this one lets you select the entire lot. It depends on what you have. If you have like other lots around, you can just move the house itself, or you just move the whole lot. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to like have it lined up with that entrance in the world, so I'm just gonna move it back a little bit too, and it kind of looks like it looks good like that. And normally, for landscaping and terrain, I'll just add a little pond, and so I'm gonna go to terrain tool, and I'm gonna click on lower terrain, and these things increase the size and stuff. This increases how quickly it goes and stuff. So I have mine like pretty soft so that it's like doesn't go down too fast. And then I click on this flatten terrain one right here, and it flattens everything to that exact height. So for a pond, you really don't need a lot of, you don't need it to be that deep. You can just do this and it should be fine. And if it's not, you could just like lower it a little bit more. Like you could just like click once and then do that and it lowers it. The only problem is that sometimes this default terrain is ugly and you would have to like play around with covering it up if you want. I do that using a tool mod, but that's like optional. And so you just like fill it up. And you see how like it got kind of squarish on the sides? That's because I filled it up too much. And if you just like go back a little bit, it fixes that. And if it like you still don't really like it, you go back to the terrain where you did like lowering and flattening it. You can smooth the terrain. And so I'm gonna just like lower the size of the brush a little bit, and I'm just going to like go like this, just have it like blend in a little bit more. And you could change the color of the water too. So if you go into outdoor, oh, is it? Yeah, outdoor water decor, you can click on any of these different things and you can change the color of the water to what you feel like works for your build. I like the pond scum. I also like the mossy water. So it's really just whatever you feel like is the vibe of your build. I feel like this one works really well, so I'm going to leave it as this one. Okay, so the next thing would be to change the the deck to something else. So if you want the floors, it would be floor patterns over here. I normally like always mistake it for this one, which is the walls and empty rooms, but this is under floor patterns, which you could also just pull up by doing the eyedrop tool, which is normally how I build. And if you want to, oh gosh, another thing I realized. I know that this is so out of order, and I apologize. This is my first time ever doing a tutorial video, but if you hold down shift, it fills up an entire room. So if you have, let me do another side lesson over here because I forgot. So if you have this, it's just one. If you hold down shift, it does this and it does like all those. If you hold down alt, it does one wall only. So yeah, shift does a whole room. This is just doing this because this is counting as a different room. But if this isn't a room anymore, it would do the entire thing. So alt does one wall and shift does all of them. So yeah, that's how you do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at it. Yes, that's pretty much the entire build. And as you could see, I had spotted that this wasn't changed, so I just changed it. And now I feel like I need to do this. And I know this looks a little bit strange, right? So you'd want to probably drag that in a little bit. Just change some things around. So now we have like two separate sort of porches. You'd probably want a door out here as well, right? So maybe I'll do like that. And that. A lot of doors down here. I'm also realizing that I don't really like the color of these ones, so I'm just gonna change everything so it matches a little bit better. Yeah, it will change whatever is currently a room, so you see I have to like click it a bunch of times. That's just something that has to be done. And now to change stair colors, you can like click on a new stair color and you drag it over on top of the stairs and it replaces it. So yeah. If there's any part of this that is like confusing, I definitely recommend pausing, going back when you can to like the parts that you really feel like you need to know. Yeah, I had the wraparound porch, but I realized that I liked how these looked, so it's a little bit different. And I know these columns don't match. It's like a mixed match of a bunch of stuff. So maybe back here, I'm just going to change out these columns. And I'll only have the other ones like on the other parts of the house just because there's so much going on back here. Kind of just simplify it a little bit. Maybe even just like that could be fine. Get rid of these two so it doesn't block the door as much. Change the color of the door. It's okay if the windows and stuff don't match all of the other windows. Kind of worry about that when you go inside the house, and if you don't like it, you can just change it out while you do the floor plan. So I make the mistake of putting all the windows in before I do the floor plan, and normally you have to change things, and that's just part of the fun of building, is that you can just change anything that you want to change. So yeah. Another thing that I would like is for this to be more of like this shape. And so I placed that down just so that it could give me another deck. This is all, again, completely optional. This is just how I like to do it. I'm not even going to change like the roof at all because I like how that looks. I'm just gonna like bring it out like this. I kind of like that. Maybe I do it on the other side too. But if I do it on the other side, it'll be more obvious that there's no roof. But I have another idea. So I'm going to do this over here. This is going to be a long one. So if you find me annoying, then you won't be able to really watch. But you click on this room and you click on the yellow to build the ceiling. Now we have a ceiling. I'm going to delete these. And my other idea is to kind of have a lattice thing on the top. Which I guess I didn't even need to do that because I think I'm going to have to change it anyway. But it's all just like guessing, really. I'm going to use one of these. This is called Smooth Keeper. It's in base game, so everybody has it. And I'm going to try and do something. So because this is a ceiling, can I like do this so you could see better? Oh, I could see better. Why didn't I just do this in the first place? I do something like this. Okay, this is a completely wrong color. Let me change that. So just change it. Maybe I even bring it out a little bit more. So if you want to make something bigger, of course, you just click on the room and you drag it. And so I'm going to do that up here too. Oh, this isn't technically a room, so I have to just redo this. Use the different tools for like different areas, so I might even just make that a room just to make it easier on myself. When you move rooms and stuff, sometimes it moves your things, so you'll just have to move stuff back if it does end up moving. So like sometimes it's like hard to notice, and so you just have to like change it. And now kind of grab the same thing down here, which is this wall trim. And I don't know which one I used last time. So I'm just gonna, I think it was this one. I think that one looks okay. And then I'm going to, okay, see how this is going up here? If that happens to you, you can just lower it back down. And now I am going to press K, which is the demolish tool. And I'm going to do this and delete each of these little squares. And so now it's like a little, I don't know what you would call that. It's something. It's something. And so normally I'd put like plants on there. So then you can like put a plant. Okay. And since debug and live edit is something like that's not in the base game, I'm just gonna get rid of these just because that's like a whole nother explanation that I can't explain because I'm using a mod right now. All of the mods I use are in the description. So if you are on PC, or I guess Mac too, um, and you want to try mods, the modders usually have like really good explanations on how to download their mods and stuff. And I recommend all the ones that I have in my description because it definitely makes building a whole lot easier. And for me, it makes it more fun because I don't have to fight everything. I kind of want lavender, so I'm going to place lavender around my entire build. Okay, I'm going to explain something else. So when you have an item like this, you can only like rotate it here. But if you hold down Alt, I think you need the Sims 3 camera on for this. I could be wrong. You could spin it anywhere. And if you're on this grid, if you hold Alt, it lets you slide it everywhere. So if you see there's like snap points here, but if you do this, there's no snap point. So these are all little things that I don't even think about while I'm building anymore. So it's hard. I'm sure I probably missed a bunch of stuff too. And if I did, I apologize. If you have questions, definitely feel free to ask me in a comment. And I could do my best to explain like the answers. And if I don't have an answer for you, I can try and like point you in a different direction. Like I can maybe help you with like wording for how to Google it. Because I know Googling things can be like annoying too, especially if you're not familiar with the terms of like Sims and stuff. It might like be hard. And for this, when I want to like raise up an item that's like in here, I press the 9 key and it lets me like raise it. And if you press 0, it raises it back down or lowers it down. So I know that there's another thing like these brackets that I talked about before. They are next to P on the keyboard, and left makes it smaller, right makes it larger. So those are all little like tips that make building a little bit more free for you to do whatever you want. Yeah, I feel like this landscaping's pretty ugly. um so I kind of just like I like messy landscaping. Yeah, I like that. And then we could do some terrain paint, which is back in the section over here. So there's different sections here too. There's grass and flowers, there's stone and pavement, and there's dirt and sand. I like this darker soil. And yeah, you could just like change the softness again too by dragging this around. So just like play around with the tools. You can do it anywhere. Like over here, I'd probably want to do another sort of thing I did over here. Maybe I could just copy and paste that. Let me copy this. And I'm going to just... I moved it a little bit, and I'm just going to do this. So let's see if I can explain what I did. So I copied it, and then I just placed it down here so I had a free spot. And because I want it to be a little bit skinnier, I just go like that. And then you can pick it back up by the move. I'll have to like very slow it down if I'm talking fast. And so that does that. I'm going to delete this over here. I'm going to eyedrop. I'm just going to do the same thing. It didn't copy this, so I'm just doing the same thing I had done over there. So I wanted that over there just because I wanted it to be a little bit more interesting. Even though it's pretty busy over there, just felt like it needed something. And normally I would probably like make this a diagonal over here too and fix this roof. But that would take me a while because I'd also have to play around with the roofing and stuff. And this is like pretty okay already. There's also like different roof sculptures and stuff where you could get chimneys and you can just place wherever you want the chimneys to go. I never match it up with where fireplaces are inside. I kind of just like throw them around. I normally have one on top of like one of these roof pieces, then maybe like one in the back somewhere. You could just like change whatever you think looks good for your build. I definitely know that for wall sculptures, it's underneath windows, and this is where you could get ivy and stuff. There's no ivy in base game, but again, there's that cheat that unlocks debug stuff. It's like, um, I don't even, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it because I don't know it. So I'm doing the same thing with all the items, and I'm holding down Alt so I can like place them anywhere instead of locked to the grid again. I don't know like what else I could do to make it look a little bit better. Maybe I'll like raise it up one. I have to add railings to my build. So I'll add some railings too. Not really overthinking what I use. Just using whatever packs I like. So I'm gonna go to the paint and I'm just going to use a rock and pavement one. And this is on a pretty like low harshness, so it's like very soft. And it just gives you more control over your terrain paint, so it's not as harsh. And like some people probably don't like that some of the rocks look like they're half there. I like to think that they like got covered with grass. So that's my excuse for it. I know that there's one thing that I always forget, and it's mailboxes and garbage cans. So you can just like add a mailbox somewhere. I put mine over by the stairs probably. And trash cans, I would probably just throw in the back then. I don't usually put trash cans. That's just, I think most simmers kind of forget these things all the time. So you just throw in wherever you want it to be. Um, there's a lot of different tools that you can use. These are kind of just like the basics, but also plus some that aren't basics. I didn't really get into platforms and stuff mostly because I find it really confusing and I don't think anyone has to really get caught up on them at all. There's of course pool tools and stuff. Most of these things are like pretty easy to figure out when you kind of just have the basics down, where it's like moving things around, dragging them, and like going through each of these menus to see what they do. So if you kind of like don't know, I would just like sit through and just go through every single thing, and it'll probably take some time to like find where things are, but the more you build, the easier it'll get. So, like, I know I definitely didn't show where outdoor plants would be, but I hope that it could be useful in some way. And this is pretty much like how most of my builds look. I think this is like a very me style of my builds. And like, yeah, I put my reshade on and it, like changes it slightly and stuff. And I'll probably add more to this and just like not really show it, but I'll probably add more to it just for like pictures and stuff, and like that's just more like landscaping and things like that. That this video is already pretty long, so I don't want to add any unnecessary things. So I'll probably leave it here, and if you have any questions, I guess just let me know and I could try and help the best I can. And if anyone's watching and they see a comment that they kind of can help with, then feel free to help people when you can. Just give tips as you can. But yeah, thank you for watching. And I do lots of different speed builds on my channel. This is the first video like this, but I could maybe do more of like this in the future if there's an interest in it. I feel like it was fun. I think the one thing that would probably make me not do it again is if editing this is annoying. So I'll have to see, and if it is annoying, I'll just have to, like, change the way I do it a little bit so that it's not just me talking for an hour and maybe just, like, figuring out a better way about it. But, yeah, thank you, everybody. I hope that this could be helpful to anyone who needs some tips for building in The Sims. So, yeah, bye.